time. That's another workshop.
We don't have the iPad too.
Oh boy.
So we were just.
You quickly want to run and go.
Yeah, we were just in a meeting downstairs.
Okay, quickly, I'll wait for you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, please hurry because live.
It's live.
No, just joking. Okay, you guys have your worksheets.
I actually found it. So.
You found it? Well, you've got yours.
Yeah.
Yours at home. Okay, so quickly then I'll send it to mine.
Yeah.
Very quickly. I'm just going to send you the section that we're working with today. And write down out today. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why teacher is in our group. Anyway, let's attach quickly. 2025, 102, smart. And 4, such a long pathway to get here. Okay, and it is storytelling. It is this one. It's called Take Home Quiz. It's just because I separated part 3 from the rest of them. So there you go. Okay. Alright, and I'll just check who's here, who's not here. So, Atom.
How is absent today?
Absent. He's sick?
I'm not sure. It's probably basically.
Okay, alright, or maybe Chinese New Year, I don't know. There must be a reason. Okay, Mix is here, but if you went out, T-Tat.
I'm here.
Okay, and B will be back, I'm sure. Others is here, and E. Yeah, always there. Alright, awesome. Okay, I know. School activities, they all happen. Okay, they need to come back because I quickly want to talk about your exam before we move into the main lesson. Now, your exam is basically a writing piece again. Half of it will be grammar, so it will be teacher, we'll be setting that grammar part. I have not seen it, so I can't tell you anything about it, but I can tell you about my half. So it's based on our theme of storytelling, and I'm going to show you an example of the question. Okay, so there it is. You'll see it's going to be something along these lines. So for 10 points only, you've learned about storytelling, the importance of storytelling. We're going to carry on with that a little bit today as well. Stories can be told in many ways and have deep meaning in culture, and that's important. We're also going to delve into culture a little bit today. But this quote you've had before in your reading about Gina Mishlope, the African storyteller. She said, "My heart touches your heart. I hold you and transfer my inspiration to you, and you do the same for the next person." So it's important for me that somewhere in your writing you do mention or refer to the quote. So this time, 150 words to 200. You are in M4, so we have to expand the word limit a little bit. But if you don't reach exactly the number of words, please don't stress, because I know you've got the grammar section as well. But please, you have to give me something. Previous exams, I've had a problem where people finish all the grammar questions and they write 1 or 2 sentences, wink, wink, for me, and then I cannot give you a high score because what am I supposed to mark? So please try, even if you maybe start with the writing this time and then go to the grammar, because at least with the grammar you have the answers in front of you. You can just read and make an informed choice. Don't just pick at random. Okay, so basically provide a heading for your essay. Please don't forget it. You'll get a point just for giving me a title. Okay, explain why you think storytelling is important in sharing culture and values. Okay, share your feelings, so it's your opinion, about how stories can inspire and connect people. Give an example of a cultural story or a folk tale that's meaningful to you. Okay, you don't have to tell me the whole story, you just basically mention the title and maybe a little bit about what happens in the story and what we learn from it. There's not enough time to write everything. Okay, gentlemen, welcome back. Just come sit here in the front if you don't mind. I'm busy telling them about your final exam. Alright, now I will quickly repeat before we start with what we need to do. And I'm showing you an example that's quite close to what you're going to get in the test. So it's good to pay attention to this. Okay? So let's recap again for those who were here already. you're going to get an essay to write. It's based on the overall theme of the semester. And the quote there is, "My heart touches your heart, I hold you and transfer my inspiration to you, and you do the same for the next person." Remember, that's from that reading we did about Gina Moshloka. Okay? Essay of 150 to 200 words. I know it's a lot. Please don't be blind, or don't stay yourself, or don't worry too much about the word count. It's about the content more. Okay? And your writing. Pay attention to your grammar, your spelling, sentence structure. And please, you have to write something. If you don't answer the question, you write 1 or 2 sentences, you're going to get like 1 or 2 out of 10. So please, you have to do something. Remember, half of the paper is grammar. It should probably be multiple choice again, or filling or choosing the correct words or whatever. Important to provide a heading for your essay, please. And then explain why you think storytelling is important in sharing culture and values. Share your feelings about how stories inspire you and people around you, how we form connections with people. Give an example of a cultural story that influences you, okay? And then the last point there, just use your own ideas and examples to explain your thoughts clearly. And then, the example you mentioned, maybe any story. Don't retell the story, just mention it and maybe talk about what you learned from it. That's it, okay? And this is very similar to what you're going to get in the exam. Okay, so I have to do that because today is the last time I'm seeing you for the semester. Yes, it is, because the next time is a holiday. I was meant to see you, and then, anyway. Okay, you guys all have your notes here. Please open on page 13. I'm going to skip a few pages. We're not going to do everything because that's not enough time, unfortunately, but this is important for me. There's an extra worksheet I'm going to give you at the end, or during today as well, that you have to do, and your final score will then be this is the final exam for me and teacher friend. Okay, so outcome for today. We're going to speak about poetry a little bit, and after you've completed it, you will kind of see how they tell stories through poetry, because that's what poetry is, you know. It's not always a story, it can be a narrative poem, but many times it's just someone's thoughts and their feelings and emotions. Alright, can you guys quickly do the first activity for me there? In your opinion, why do people write poetry? Okay, if you want, you can think back to their Poet Society. They really focused on poetry specifically in those English classes. But just in general, just give me 5 points. It doesn't have to be a paragraph, you can just list 5 points. Why do people write poetry? I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes quickly, and then I want you guys to share ideas. So don't worry, it doesn't have to be a paragraph, just give me 5 points. Why do people write poetry? Or why do they read? Now, let's change it. Why do people read and write poetry? Because not everybody writes it. A lot of people read it and appreciate it. Think about songs. Song lyrics are poems, are they not? If you look at the way they write them, the way they rhyme, the rhythm, everything. Okay, so there's only atoms that are sick. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Would you guys do me a favor, if you see Atom, just ask him to come and see me, so I can explain to him what he needs to do for his final score. When you read, don't just consider what the author thinks, consider what you think. Okay? It's true. Sometimes I think, and that's the feeling I got when I was in school and we did poetry, that sometimes I think the teacher or whoever analyzed it kind of overanalyzes it. We have to be careful of that too. Not to delve too deep. At least what's nice about the one we're going to look at today is the poet was still alive and people could actually ask him questions. He's passed away now, but if they're around, I wish William Shakespeare was still around so we could ask him some questions, especially about the rumors about his sonnets all being written for a man and not to his wife, Anne Hathaway. It's interesting, it's really interesting. And when she passed away, he left her, the only thing he left her in his will was the second best bed. So, yeah. There are rumors that he definitely was gay, perhaps. But still, be as it may, his writing is still seen as the best, or one of the best English writers of all time. Sometimes a bit difficult to understand everything he's trying to say, but it's brilliant. The phone rang. B.
Yes.
Did everything go well with open house? The stuff you were supposed to do? Artists did a very good job outside there with telling people about the subject. With another student from 95. So, thank you for that. Okay, so you guys are still writing, but let's start sharing. Okay, what do you think? Why do we read and write poetry?
I think that it is for you to understand it more. For me, to understand it more, to give the character, to make people memorize it. Like someone poetry is very catchy.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so it is to get this on the people's heads.
What to do with the rhyme and the meter.
Yeah. And like some movie scene, it is to make a role in some part. Like it is to give the meaning of that part. I'm not to say it. And also it is to give a synonym for some sentence. So that sentence is quite complicated and it's as a synonym.
I guess another thing, poets paint with words. I mean, when you read it, I think they want you to put a picture in your mind, to see what they were thinking. You know, Thanks.
Yes. To express their thought and ideas, to express their emotions and passion,
Yes.
to appreciate something beautiful, to connect with people who are of words, and to pass down stories and moments.
Like that, to pass down stories and moments. That's really lovely. Okay, what do you say?
To convey a message
A message, yes.
without the use of technology, and everyone can access poetry because it doesn't take too much preparation time, like whether it's movies or dances.
Yeah, it's very easily accessible, yes. You can find it anywhere. You don't even need to buy books anymore. On the internet made life so much easier. Okay, others?
Writing poetry is a way for humans to express extreme feelings that we wouldn't normally be able to.
I like that, we express feelings in a different way. That's true, okay? Finding a way to say it. And that's what poets do. They often say it in an abstract or a different way. That's why we have to analyze poetry sometimes. Because it's not always that clear what they're trying to tell us.
To increase empathy, to enlighten the passion of one's life,
I like that. Enlighten the passion of one's life.
feeling, modern health, and entertainment.
Very nice, yeah. I think ultimately the purpose is entertainment. No, it's reading, it's part of literature, it's like reading a novel.
But
Nowadays,
both of them often contain like some philosophical stuff.
yes,
That makes you like connect with the world more.
definitely. Okay, awesome. So very nice on that. Good response, everybody. So where's mine? Sorry, I just want to check. Okay, so then I have some notes about forms of poetry. Like the narrative poetry tells a story. You use voices of both a narrator and characters, etc. And then, like you guys said, you get your more philosophical things. And William Shakespeare that wrote love poetry, we call those sonnets. Sonnet has 14 lines, a rhyming couplet at the end, and a certain rhyme scheme. So there's a certain way that these things work and go together. I'm not going to do page 14 now. If you guys would like to, you can read that on your own. It's just an example of a narrative poem. And then at the end, it just quickly, briefly explains what it is about. I want to get into poem analysis on the Lamb. I also want to give you another worksheet. Now, I know this may seem a lot. The big worksheet, you can take your time and you can give it to me before the end of the semester, that's fine. But this one I would like to pay attention to today in class and see if we can get it done. Okay. Because I added something that I think is quite important, and I think this poem that we're going to do really speaks to it. And I try to localize your project a little bit. Okay, so let's start. My toy, huh? Okay, so you probably recognize him, yes? Okay, have you ever heard of his royal projects? What kind of projects did he do? Did he initiate? Can you give me some examples?
I know it in Thai, but
You know what's called in Thai?
yeah.
Ah, okay. So I'm just going to focus on one because I really think it kind of links. Yes? Others?
For Noah.
What is that?
It's like
Like a project to help
farmers grow crops.
How farmers grow crops. Yes.
study maybe fly
Ground drops
into clouds.
Oh yes, the rainmaking. Yes.
Yeah, forcing it to rain.
I think nowadays, I don't know, but everywhere, especially in the Western world, when you're there, you see all these lines in the sky all the time.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of conspiracies about what are they actually pumping into the air.
Projects.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to this. Because these intentions were good. I mean, they didn't do anything that wanted to harm society. So the one I want to look at is the sufficiency economy philosophy. Okay, and I summarize it that it says, maybe you kind of think it kind of ties into what you mentioned with the rainmaking, and also there's certain grass and things that he instituted that people had to plant to stop erosion and water just spilling things away and whatever. Anyway, let's just read that. So sufficiency economy is a philosophy introduced by King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand. It emphasizes living a balanced and sustainable life. What does it mean to sustain? Preserve it and balance. So how do we do that? What do you understand? Living a balanced and sustainable life. What does it tell you to do?
To keep more money than spending.
Yes, keep more money, not to spend too much. You have to think ahead. That's the problem. People don't always do it. They don't save up. They live for the moment. Many people do. And it's a problem. And it's sometimes very tempting to just spend money. My wife always says when there's money in her pocket, it feels like it's burning her. And I'm like, really? But it's the same as having your phone. I mean, now you can just scan wherever you go. It's so convenient. But anyway, so living a balanced and sustainable life, focusing on moderation, you guys mentioned that, living within your means, I think, being mindful and resilience. What is resilience? If you are resilient, what are you?
Resilience.
You are profitable
Yeah.
and if
And you're strong, you don't give up, you persevere. Okay? So if bad things happen, what do? Do we just go lie in the corner or like a ostrich, put your head in the sand? You can't do that. You need to look up and move forward, otherwise nothing will improve. It's not about rejecting development, but ensuring that progress aligns with ethical principles, environmental conservation, that's big, and sustainable practices. Meaning whatever you do, you need to think ahead, so that whatever we plant, whatever we want to do, doesn't disrupt the future. I guess it's also got to do with leaving a legacy behind for the next generation. What do you guys think? In your own life, how can you practice this?
Starting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being greedy.
Stop being greedy. Yeah. I also think it's got a lot to do with also sharing. It doesn't always have to be things, but knowledge. Impart knowledge. That's what the king did. When he didn't physically do, it's impossible for one person to physically do everything. But you can impart knowledge, you can show them how, and hopefully people would learn something and carry on with that. Okay, anyway, so keep this in the back of your mind as we go through this thing. Alright, this is the poem, The Lamb. Let's read it quickly. And I just want you to give me like a general response if you go back to my other notes. So I'm back and forth between the two notepads. Okay, so let's pass it on this. Okay, The Lamb by William Blake. I will introduce you to William Blake just now, very interesting fellow. Anyway, look at the picture there. Okay, I don't have it there. I've got it on the next slide. But that little excerpt there, that's actually his handwriting. He was an artist as well. So all his poem and anthologies that he published, he would literally create artworks for every single poem. I mean, it's beautiful. If you can get your hands on an original black anthology, you could be sitting with a lot of, well, something that's worth a lot of money. Okay, let's read it. Tell me what this kind of thing reminds you of. Okay, little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee feed and bid thee feed by the stream over the mead. Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I'll tell thee. Little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child, and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee. Okay, so what does the style remind you of?
Dead poets,
Okay, maybe, yes, it is a poem, but I think this poem is way easier than the ones that they use in their poet society. Okay, if you look at the type of words here, it's kind of reminds me of a lullaby that a mom would sing to her baby, or a little story that you would tell a child. Simple language, there's nothing really difficult, and then just the tone of it is very sweet and kind. Okay. So just to recap, not really recap, we haven't done a lot of poetry this year. The intention was with Dead Poets, but we always run out of time for something. Right? Anyway, so just poem, composition of verse, you know that. It paints pictures by means of poetic devices. Poets reflect on the events and ideas of their times through poetry. So just like you guys said, they paint a picture, but it kind of, and that's why we study people like Shakespeare and all these old poets, because it gives us a little view of what life was like back in the day. I mean, they didn't have, most of them didn't have cameras, and all the records we have are written, and that's why we study and analyze poems. So we look for themes and ideas. What's the message of the poem? How many lines, how many stanzas, if you want to be really technical, like if it's a sonnet, it would have 14 lines, the last two lines would rhyme, and then the others would be A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, and then the last two rhyming couplets. But anyway, this one is not a sonnet. Okay, diction means the choice of words, so just like any author, you choose what words or vocab you're using. What does the poem make you feel like? Is it friendly? Is it happy? Is it sad? The one we just read, how does it make you feel? Or do we need to read it one more time? Okay, let's go through it one more time. Okay, imagery, okay. Does he use literal language when he writes the poem, meaning he says it as it is, or is he using figurative language like metaphors, similes, and even personification? Personification is when you give a dead thing a human quality, like the chair loves me, okay? And then actually what you're meaning is just, you like lying on the chair, okay? But you say it in a different way. Similes is just like a metaphor, but a simile is a comparison where you use the word as or like within the comparison. For example, let's say you're flying in a plane and you're looking out the window and you see you're flying over Africa and there's a hill with lots of little huts on it, and you're like, oh, those the houses on the hill looks like walls, okay, on someone's face. So you're comparing the hill to the little houses to poodles on someone's face, just to explain what it looks like from afar. Okay, and then metaphor is just a comparison. And then rhythm, pace, like in music, you have to have a certain rhythm or pace to it. And then rhyme, things like that, timeline. Okay, I want to show you the poem again. It's a little clay animation that the student made about the poem. Maybe it would give you the tone a bit more clearer. Tell me how you feel when you see this. Is it happy? Is it sad? And again, who do you think this is aimed at? No, this is
And language, no matter what anybody tells you, word.
Sorry, I don't want to go there now. That's the wrong one. I'm jumping the gun. I need to go to the next slide. And that is this one. Okay, there you go. That's a good example of what they did, but with all this poetry. Now this one comes from an anthology called Songs of Innocence. If there's time, I would like to one day do one poem from Songs of Experience. It's like the sequel to Songs of Innocence. This is from Songs of Innocence. I think the little boy there can also give you an idea, and just look at the sheep there. I'll play the video quickly. Tell me what you think.
Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed by the stream in oil mead. Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly, bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I'll tell thee. Little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child, and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee.
Okay, so what do you think? What is the poem about?
Oh, the lamb.
It's about a lamb, yes.
Christianity.
Okay. Christianity. There you go. So I think that gives us a clue, and I think it's because of the animation and kind of gave it away a little bit. Let's have a look. I first want to just introduce you to Blake. I'm going to show you another video clip about a lady just giving like an overview of Blake's life. Have a look at that. That's him. So born November 28th, 1757. Luckily, he wrote down some notes on his work, so we have an idea what he meant. At the age of 14, he became an apprentice engraver. He was a poet, painter, and engraver throughout his life, but he was extremely religious. So a lot of his poems, like you mentioned, there's a little hint of religion within it. Some people think he was crazy and he became a bit mad. But we'll see in the video why he became ill towards the end. It's because of his art form that actually. Okay, have a look.
That plant review was brutal.
Oh yeah, the water leaks.
I'm already so pruny.
He saw ecstatic visions of angels and saints and spoke to the dead. He believed that archangels were fans of his work. He once painted the ghost of a flea, which he claimed to have seen firsthand. William Blake was a madman. At least that was the popular opinion of his contemporaries. William Wordsworth wrote, "There was no doubt that this poor man was mad, but there is something in the madness of this man which interests me more than the sanity of Lord Byron and Walter Scott." Was William Blake indeed insane? Or, as eulogized by John Living Cousin, was he a truly pious and loving soul, neglected and misunderstood by the world, but appreciated by an elect few? The test of time has been kind to William Blake. He is now hailed as a visionary poet and artist. William Blake, one of 7 children, was born on November 28, 1757 to James and Catherine Blake. The Blakes resided in London, and William lived in the family home on Broad Street in Soho until he was 25. His education was unorthodox. He left school at the age of 10, having learned to read and write, and thereafter was self-taught with guidance from his mother. He read primarily from the Bible and other theological treatises, which would influence his work for the rest of his life. Even from an early age, Blake showed a great sensitivity to art, poring over books of prints from the masters Raphael and Michelangelo. Blake began attending drawing classes. and at the age of 14 was apprenticed to an engraver, James Vassar. There is a peculiar story associated with Blake's apprenticeship. Vassar was not the first choice of William's parents. They had originally selected William Ryman, the royal engraver, to serve as young William's mentor. But something about the man's looks disturbed William Blake, who told his father the engraver was sure to be hanged as a criminal. His father took William's words to heart and placed him with a different mentor. Oddly, years later, Ryman was hanged as a forger. Under Vassar's guidance, Blake learned a somewhat old-fashioned technique of engraving, which may have hampered his popularity during his lifetime. Still, Blake fed his imagination during his apprenticeship, visiting Gothic churches and publishing his first volume of verse called Poetical Sketches. At the end of his apprenticeship, at the age of 21, Blake became a student at the relatively new institution, the Royal Academy of Arts, which was at that time directed by the influential painter Sir Joshua Reynolds. Blake's views on art differed from Reynolds, and he found himself a reactionary in this environment, preferring the classic works of Michelangelo and Raphael he so loved as a child to the newer, fashionable painters of the day. Still, Blake was able to begin showing his own work while at the Royal Academy. During this time, William Blake also met his wife, Catherine, whom he taught to read and write after they were married. William Blake then embarked on his career as a professional engraver. In 1784, Blake and a partner, James Parker, opened a print shop turning out mainly radical political pamphlets. They enjoyed some success, and the print shop was a favorite haunt of such luminaries as Thomas Paine, Joseph Priestley, and Mary Wollstonecraft. Meanwhile, William Blake began experimenting with new engraving techniques for his own writings. He invented relief etching, a kind of reverse engraving on copper plates where the background was dissolved away with acid, leaving the words and pictures to stand out. Songs of Innocence, one of the first books by William Blake illuminated in this style, was published in 1789. An expanded collection, Songs of Innocence and of Experience, showing the two contrary states of the human soul, was published 5 years later. The poems explore the innocence of childhood and the delicate balance between knowledge and corruption. At first glance, the simple lyric poems resemble writing for children, but the subject matter often dealt with society's ills and social inequities. Blake's poems and the accompanying artwork present a rich experience where one enhances the enjoyment and understanding of the other. Blake continued his philosophical investigations into the nature of good and evil in his later works, which included The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Visions of the Daughters of Albion, Milton, and Jerusalem. In his writings, Blake rejected what he saw as the corruption of the Industrial Revolution in his England, writing of dark satanic mills and celebrating the beauty of nature. He scoffed at the feeble efforts made thus far to understand our world, stating, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. William Blake and his wife Catherine lived happily together for many years despite some financial hardship. Catherine assisted William, and together they produced a remarkable body of writing and illustrations. Unfortunately, his work with engraving materials may have taken a toll on William Blake's health. He suffered for years from an unknown ailment with stomach pain and muscle weakness. These symptoms are consistent with biliary cirrhosis, which can be caused by prolonged exposure to toxins, such as the fumes produced when acid eats away at copper. Blake continued to work up until his death, expressing no fear about his own mortality. A friend wrote of Blake's last moments. He said he was going to that country he had all his life wished to see, and expressed himself happy, hoping for salvation through Jesus Christ. Just before he died, his countenance became fair, his eyes brightened, and he burst out in singing of the things he saw in heaven. William Blake died on August 12, 1827, and was buried in Bunhill Fields, a resting place in London set aside for nonconformists. William Blake is now celebrated as the favorite son of England. The Jerusalem lyric from the preface to his epic poem Milton was set to music by Sir Hubert Parry in 1916, and is now considered the unofficial national hymn of England. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land.
Let's try that.
Yes, you're welcome to. Okay, so that gives you an idea of his life. Very, very religious person. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's sad to say that his art actually caused his death. You know, but they just didn't know back then that it was dangerous to have acid eating away at copper, and that's what he used. He made these plates and then he would do the prints for his poetry and his other artwork, etc. Okay, so that's what I mean, it's beautiful. And those books are really, really nice. And back then, I mean, you had to do each book one by one, you know, and it took quite a lot of time. Anyway, let's have a look at this some vocabulary. Please give me a definition there for some of them. I didn't add all. So the first one there is lamb. Okay, can you tell me? Give me some adjectives that describe a lamb. Just look at the picture. What does a lamb feel like? Have you ever held a lamb? Have you ever touched one? Soft. There's a word, so you can add that. Soft. What is it? What about his fur? Woolly. What does it look like? Wool, yes, but bright. It's light. Okay, there's a couple of words. So you can use these to describe a lamb. They're sweet, they're kind, they're meek, they're mild, gentle, delicious. Yes, I agree. Lamb is quite good. It's quite expensive, especially if you want to eat it in Thailand. But anyway, back home, yeah, lamb chops on the fire is amazing. Anyway, okay, and then the next one, I want to talk about rhyme couplets, just so that you know, because he used a lot of rhyme couplets in the rhyme scheme of this poem. So this is just an extract from Romeo and Juliet, just to show you how rhyming couplets work. So Juliet says, "Saints do not move through grants or prayers, or do not move, though grants or prayers sake." And then Romeo responds, "They move not while my prayers effect I take." Okay, so you're romantic. She touches Romeo's hand, and he says he's taking a prayer from her while touching her, etc. Really, really good. But what Shakespeare did was, at the end of every single person's dialogue, it rhymes, a rhyming couplet. And he would write his entire plays like that, and it makes sense and it doesn't feel weird. So, quite genius. But anyway, so those are rhyming couplets. Then we get alliteration. Okay, alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds within poetry. We still use it a lot today. People love to use this for like newspaper headlines, etc., because it makes it rhyme, well not rhyme, it gives it a kind of flow to it. And then also, the easiest way to use alliteration a lot and to give you some tongue-twisting moments is with some tongue twisters. While I nodded, yelling at me, suddenly they came attacking. Okay? Quickly try the other one for me. See if you can read the one in blue. She sells seashells on the seashores. Try it. Okay, nice. But the faster you go, the more tricky it becomes, and your tongue gets. And it's not gets twisted, but it's actually because our tongues are lazy. That's why it happens. That's why actors, before they act, they do all kinds of exercises with their tongues just to warm it up, so that doesn't happen to them. But anyway, alliteration, you'll see, yes, sure. Alliteration is also used in this poem. I'll show you some examples, and it's meant for the flow and the rhythm of the poem. Okay, meadow. There's a nice picture. What is a meadow? That's another one I want you to write down there. Number 2, mead. Mead is short for meadow. Now, there's a reason the poet decided to write med instead of meadow, or mead instead of meadow. Rhyme, for rhyme scheme. Well done. Okay, the meadow field filled with grass. I mean, just look at that. I would love to be there right now. I think it's quite nice. And I can imagine a little stream down there and just fresh air, you know, quite lovely. Okay, so a field with grass that's often filled with flowers. They could be a stream as well. Okay, next one. Oh, there's some, I've got about my adjectives to describe. So, verdant, okay, means fresh. Freshened, pleasant, green, fragrant, distant, mystic. There's so many words that you can use, and also depending on the time of day that you can use to describe a meadow. Okay, glowing, unrivaled, it's humble. I mean, nature, in essence, I think is humble. You know, it's not all extravagance. Yeah, sometimes it is if you look at your beautiful cave, and you see all those formations. It could be quite fantastic. All right, stream. Okay, what's the difference between a stream and a river?
Stream is a little bit more violent.
Yeah, it's a little bit more violent, it's smaller, definitely. And a stream is something that you would find in a meadow. Rivers are basically a bunch of streams that ultimately come together and they form a big body of water. So, stream flows naturally along a fixed route formed by a channel cut out into a rock. And it's usually at ground level. Streams are not very deep normally. They will have deep spots, yes, but not like a river. In the Chalcry River, I've read sometimes are up to 30, 40 meters deep. That's crazy to think, eh? It's like sometimes deeper than it's wide. What I love about streams, the sound, the water flowing over the stones, it just basically gives you a sense of calm. And perhaps that's why he mentions the stream in his poem. Okay, to describe a stream, it can be steady, it can be large, yes, clear, broad, rapid. It can be silver deep when the sun shines on it and it's got that reflection going bright. It can be a slow stream, it can be sluggish, depends on the stream that you see. Okay, then delight, what is that? Look at his face. I think that's delight, isn't it? Probably just scored a goal, or his team got a goal, or whatever. And that's pure joy. Delight is pure joy. Okay? Other words for delight, pleasure, joy, happiness, peace, or please. You're pleased, not pleased, like please with something, gratification. And I like the last one there, in rapture. When you're really happy about something, you're in rapture. Okay? If you're meek, you're quiet, you are gentle, you're not willing to argue. And I think if you look at a little lamb or a sheep, that's kind of what they are, hey? They're not very rough. I cannot say the same for the parents. When I was young, we lived on the edge of town, and there was a dairy, a farmer's house, and then you had a little dairy there, so we bought fresh milk like every second, it was lovely. But he showed me a shortcut to get to the dairy, and we would walk past all these little kraals with the sheep and the cows and whatever. And then one day I was walking there was a little lamb. And I thought, okay, I want to touch this lamb. But it's behind the fence, so what do? Climb the fence, get in there, and just as I was about to touch that lamb, guess what? I ate dirt, yes. The dad, the ram, or whatever you call him, he ran into me from behind. I was like 7, 8 years old, so you can imagine, I'm this tall, the sheep is also my back. And I lay there, and there was a bit of spilled milk as well, unfortunately. But I had to get myself out of there, and when I got home, I knocked on the door, my mom opened, and I told her, Mom, I just crashed into a lamb. Crashed into a sheep. My mom said, well, until today, whenever she's got something to touch, she tells people how I crashed into a lamb. Just the way I told her that it happened. But guys, it really hurt because it gets you like right here. And I never ever climbed the fence again. Although my cousin and I did on the same farm, we did try to steal a donkey once. Just to ride it. Also, very, very bad idea. You get onto it, and guess what it does? It runs straight for the closest fence. And it tries to scrape you off. So, also not a very good outcome. There was blood involved. Anyway, so when you're meek, lamb is totally different. Lambs are kind, they're unassertive, they're lenient, resigned, unresisting, forbearing, they're temperate. There's so many words that can describe being meek. And I think being meek is good. I think it's a good personality trait. It doesn't mean you're weak if you're meek, okay? You still do stand up for yourself. Okay, mild. I had to put some food up there. Mild is okay. I can't do really hot. Mild is like a little bit spicy. Okay, so mild weather is not very cold. It's like kind of in between hot and cold. Like at the moment, I think the weather is actually quite mild. It's not too bad. But instead of spicy food, you can have mild. So adjectives for a mild person or a mild animal. Okay. Tranquilizer, oh my goodness. Anyway, it makes you feel mild, I guess. Anyway, so humble, again, tranquil, genial, Pacific, there's so many. Serene is a nice word. Amiable is very nice. Vague means you're mild. So it depends on the context that you use it. Okay? Okay, let's look at some themes in the land. Now we're going back to that second worksheet that I gave you. Okay, so just to link it a little bit to values of humility, peace, etc. And I think that's what Ngumi will try to teach people as well, to be humble, to be peaceful, etc. So in the lamb, Blake celebrates the innocence, simplicity, and harmony found in nature. The lamb symbolizes purity, definitely, gentle strength, not overbearing strength, and care for others. It also highlights the idea of being content, being happy with what you have, and being content with simplicity. A simple life can be a good life. Yes, luxury is nice, but you can survive without that. Yes, living in balance with the world around us, echoing the values of humility and peace. Guys, there's nothing wrong with being very wealthy, okay, and having lots of stuff, but it's the way it affects your life. It's the way it affects your personality and what you do in society and what you mean in society. If you are a person that never mingles, never gives back, if you're like Scrooge in what's that, Christmas Carol, that's bad. Okay, and being like a miser, just building up, but you don't even spend anything on yourself. You have to. I mean, otherwise you're not living a balanced life. So humility and peace. Yeah. Okay, so back to the sufficiency economy. So how this mirrors in the poem for Blake, the principles of the sufficiency economy with moderation. Blake gives us an imagery of a land that represents life, free from excess and grounded in basic fulfilling necessities. And that's it, you basically just need food, water, shelter, love, basic necessities. And it's similar to the idea that the king had about sufficiency economy. Reasonableness, Blake reflects on the natural order of creation within his poem, and sufficiency economy values making decisions with long-term thinking. You guys mentioned you need to think about today and plan ahead for tomorrow. You have to, otherwise we might hit a brick wall somewhere. Life can be good at one point, but if there's an emergency and there's no resources or there's nothing saved up, then we have a problem. Resilience, the poem encourages cherishing the blessings of nature, just as sufficiency economy encourages sustainable living to preserve resources for future generations. It's just make sure you give back. If you take a tree for timber or whatever, plant a few more, so in the future the generations can also have the same. Alright, so that's just how I think it kind of links to the poem itself. Then just as the land celebrates pure and balanced existence, Thailand's approach to integrating technology into its economy is grounded in ensuring sustainability, fairness, and harmony at the end of the day. Okay, so that's kind of the link between the two. But we have to look at the poem itself, line by line, and just see what the poet's intentions were. Yes, we have enough time. Okay, let's get that copy of the poem again. Alright, can we have a look? I would like you guys to go to page 16 and just make some notes about the poem. So we're going to go line by line and just see, just add some notes as we talk through it over here, just about the actual words and what it means and how the poem saw it. Okay, so, little lamb, who made thee? Okay, you'll see that in this section, Blake is talking about a lamb, and he's literally asking the lamb, little lamb, who made thee? So, from whose perspective is this? The writer. The writer. How old is the writer? Who talks to little animals? Kids. Yes. This is from the perspective of probably Blake remembering something when he was young, talking to lambs. Okay, and then we have the little, because it indicates and stresses the importance of childlike qualities. If you talk to a lamb, let's just take a puppy. Are you going to go, hey little puppy, hey little dog, or what are you going to say? How do you address them? There's a difference between how you're going to speak and how a child's going to speak to those animals, yes. Children will use little diminutive words to make it seem smaller and more cute. Okay, many girls do that too. Okay, so the repetition of the L's there, that's alliteration. Okay, please remember alliteration, there's going to be a question about it. So the repetition of L, it just stresses the idea that it's the child that's speaking, little lamb. Okay, L there is capital letter. Now, why would he write that in capitals? Okay, now we can assume that they could be referring to God, okay, because he was so religious. So that's why the L is capital letter. And you see not just the first one, the second one too, little lamb, which could mean that he is metaphorically addressing God. All right. Dost thou know who made thee? That's a little old English. Okay, what does that mean?
Do you know
Do you know who made you? Okay, very, very simple. And gave thee life and bid thee feed. What does bid thee feed mean?
feed you?
Feed you. There you go. And again, all of this, the way he asks, I mean, children ask questions like that. Who made you? Who gave you this? Who did that? Why? I get very irritated sometimes when I remember my one cousin, he would just ask why the whole day. You know, you would see something, why? And you can even give him an answer, and then after your answer, he'd go, why? Again. But I guess that's how they learn. Anyway, gave thee life and bid thee feed, like you guys just said, it's who gave birth to you and who fed you. Okay, so the little boy knows a little bit about animals that come from somewhere, and this little lamb is alone, so maybe he's looking for the mom and the dad, not like me who bumped into the dad. But, yeah. Okay, so there again, it's a motherly theme if you ask about who made you or who gave birth to you. And the actual language of the line has a very soft, gentle quality to it. Gave thee life and bid thee feed. Okay, and then again, we assume, because it's Blake, that he's referring to Mary, Jesus' mother. Okay. Everybody happy? Okay, it's a very simple, straightforward code. Let's go to the next bit. Okay, alright, I just said things to Mary. Okay. So, the next bit describes the lamb's environment. What is your environment? Sorry? Environment. What is your environment? Where you live, your area around you. So it says that by the stream, over the mead, remember mead is short for meadow, gave thee life, clothing of the light, softest clothing, woolly bright, look at the rhyme scheme there, gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales is short for valleys. Okay? Little lamb again asking, who made thee? Do you know who made you? Okay, so you can't repeat it. Anyway, by the stream over the mead, it describes it, and it is stream and mead, typical of the English countryside. So you can see where Blake is from. It's his milieu, it's his area, it's his setting. Okay, now it's Blake. Again, we can draw it back to him being very, very big Christian and Bible stories. So he could be referring to the land of Eden, not the land, the Garden of Eden. Okay, and then the lamb is young, and he's got this picture of this idyllic life. I mean, streams, water, green grass, flowers. It's really, really nice and idyllic. And if you look at, I mean, that's what Adam and Eve had. You know, everything was perfect until the snake and then the fruit. They always depict that as an apple, but we don't actually know what fruit it was. Okay, gave the clothing of the light. Okay, so he's describing what the lamb looks like, that who dressed you, who made you the way you are. The light, bright, white. Okay, softest clothing, woolly bright. And that is the description of the lamb. It's soft, it's woolly, it's bright. And again, if you are soft, if you are bright, light, white, it alludes to innocence. Okay? And again, it reinforces his idea of innocence. The whole of the book, the Songs of Innocence, has got to do with innocence, you know, being young, not being experienced. And then he's got Songs of Experience, which he wrote mainly because of his disdain of the Industrial Revolution and evil things that happened within the Industrial Revolution. Hopefully one day we can do the tiger, and you'll see how he's like opposite. And the tiger, actually, the poem refers back to this poem to kind of have that juxtaposition between good and evil. Okay, so naivety. Okay, a child is naive. What does naive mean?
Not knowing.
Not knowing, just accepting things, just be happy-go-lucky. You don't know about the bad things out there. You're protected, you know. And then our eyes open up very quickly. I think especially in your teenage years when you really realize that the world is not always such a big, bright, happy place. Okay, so not as happy, as unhappy or happy because he's unaware. So gave he such a tender voice. Okay, tender voice. What does the lamb's voice sound like? Make a sound, please. Yeah. And then if they're older, what do they sound like? They make the same thing, but it's deeper, you know. So that, you really get that idea of innocence with the lamb, like a little child. Okay, so obviously he calls him the lamb, and Jesus is also referred to as the Lamb of God. And him being religious must be this. And again, there with the capital letters, little lamb, I'll tell thee, little lamb, I'll tell thee. Now, what I find interesting here is he says he's going to tell him, and he's excited, you know. So the first half of the poem is almost like a lullaby, or what am I looking for? The word is slipping my mind. Like a little, you know, when you use words and people need to guess the answer. There's a specific thing. Anyway, maybe it will come back to mind. Anyway, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, now he tells the lamb, I know who made you, I will tell you. Okay, and then he says he's called by thy name. So the child basically answers his own question. Now, why does the child tell the lamb that God made him? Why do you think that's his quickest answer? I mean, if an adult wrote this poem, he would probably tell little lamb, mommy and daddy came together and, you know. But the child doesn't know that, you see, innocence, again. And probably his mom and dad probably told him. Like,
He is referring to the lamb as Jesus
Yes.
itself, so maybe Jesus' dad is God.
yes, that is it. And that's also where his mom and dad probably told him he came from, you know, as their son. God gave you to us, or you were a gift from God, whatever the case may be. And that's the only reference that the little boy has. And that's why he tells the lamb, he made you. Okay, look what he says. He says, little lamb, I'll tell thee twice, for emphasis. He's called by thy name. He's got the same name as you. Okay, he's also called the lamb. And he probably heard mom and dad talking about Jesus being the Lamb of God. And now he pulls this back to this little lamb that he sees. Okay, so it's a riddle. There's the word that I was looking for. A riddle. The whole beginning of the poem is kind of a riddle, like when he entices this lamb, who made you, and then I'll tell you. Okay? And at the end of the day, he does tell the lamb it's Jesus that made you. Okay? And again, here that religious theme of Blake really comes to the forefront. So we know who the speaker is. It's a child, yes. And I a child and thou a lamb. Okay, the lamb is given human qualities. If you give an animal human qualities, it's also personification. So human, dead things like tables and chairs, or animals, if you give them a human quality, it's personification. Okay, I a child and thou a lamb, we are called by his name. Okay, little lamb, God bless thee, little lamb, God bless thee. And then at the end of the day, I think the whole poem is like teaching us some Christian values and values of gentleness and peace. And I think that pulls back to what King Bhumibol also had in mind with his sustainability cause, his gentleness, peace, people getting along together, sharing, caring, etc. Okay, and that is it. So can we quickly look at the questions of the second one, that small worksheet I gave you. If you can try and finish this one up for me, I would really appreciate it. So the first one is read the excerpt from the poem, Little Lamb Who Made Thee, do you know who made you, gave you life and gave you God, gave you food. I'm just reading it in normal English now, live stream over the meadow. So what does the lamb symbolize in the poem? Okay, what does it symbolize? What does it refer to? How does the poem emphasize simplicity and harmony? Okay, how does it show simple words, simple language? And what kind of picture do you see that shows us harmony and peace? In your opinion, what can we learn from the poem about living in balance with nature? Okay, and then the next one has got to do with the sufficiency economy specifically. So match the economy principles with their definition. So moderation, reasonableness, and resilience. Just read 1, 2, 3 and pick the right answer for me. Number 3, in what way does sufficiency economy promote harmony in society and nature? Okay, if you want to look it up and do research, you can, I don't mind. Then connecting the poem and sufficiency economy. So critical thinking. William Blake's The Land emphasizes simplicity and balance in life. How do these themes connect to Thailand's sufficiency economy? Especially in how it guides the use of technology and resources. And then there's a reflection piece, meaning what do you think? What can you personally apply from both the land and sufficiency economy to improve balance in your own life? Okay. And then the creative task. Draw a symbol or image that represents the connection between the land and sufficiency economy. Label it with words that describe balance, simplicity, sustainability, and then I would like you to create a poster for me on that you do not have to print the poster. If you can just create it and send it to me, I would be very happy. Okay. If I really love it, I'll print it, but at the moment, I've got a ton of posters that need to go up. And because we had the whole Grand Palace tour and lots of other projects. Okay, but this is then what I want from you guys. If you can try to finish answering the questions now, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, do it on your own, give it to me by next week. That's fine. You can give it to Japan and then she can just give it to me. The poster you can just send online, that'll be perfectly fine. And then the other worksheet, which is more based on the lamb itself. So how does Blake show us that the lamb is childlike? That's easy, it's multiple choice. Who made the lamb? What does it mean to be meek? Okay, it's very easy. Quote an example of a rhyming couplet from the poem. Means two lines that rhyme. So any two. There's many, many of them throughout the poem. Who is the he in the poem? And then last question, in your opinion, what is the poem about? Now comes a bit of work that you're going to have to do on your own. The Tiger. Okay, that's another poem by William Blake. Remember I mentioned Songs of Experience? You need to read it, okay? Because we're not going to teach it. It's your own little bit of work that's left for the semester. So read the poem and just also answer the questions. And then there's a bit that say, consider the lamb and the tiger together, just to link the two poems. Read the questions carefully and answer them all for me. And I need this one back before the exams start. So as soon as you are done, bring me back the worksheet. If you forgot it, I did send a copy to Line. If you lost it, please print it. And then just answer the questions for section 3. So all the questions on the lamb and the tiger I need before the end of semester. Okay. The tiger is really nice. You're going to ask me, teacher, why did he spell tiger with a Y? Simply because he's allowed to. He's William Blake. And poets have something called poetic license. You can do whatever you want. It's your work. Okay. And also, if you can online maybe look up and see this actual original artwork that he created for the tiger. It's really, really beautiful. It's all about the Industrial Revolution and the evils of that time. I think if he was alive today, his poems would be all about microchips and AI and robotics, etc. But yeah, everybody's got their own worries and their own. I mean, he probably thought the Industrial Revolution was like spelling out the end of the world with companies, etc. So yeah, thank you very much. Guys, I thank you for the lovely year. I know it was a bit rushed. There were many, many school activities that kind of took some of our time, but it's okay. Next year's M5 and I'm looking forward to that. Okay, and good luck for the exams. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, teacher.